Anti-Afro-Spengalis, here we go to school. It's very important that I come on here and just revisit a few things because it's obvious there are some subjects out there who love to pretend that they don't know the difference between a traffic violation slash citation and a criminal charge. Well, we're going to go to school and I'm going to give you some details about the situation that many people have been talking about. And I'm going to use, of course, my nostalgia, my favorite movie clips to help me illustrate the point I'm going to convey to you. So stay tuned and I will return.
Ah, shit! Holstein.
Where are you going, Milner?
Oh, I'm going home, sir.
Well, where have you been?
We were at the movies, sir.
Milner, you didn't happen to be around the corner of 12th and G about 8:30 tonight, did you?
No, sir. No, we were at the movies, like I said.
Milner, the reason I stopped you is because the light on your license plate's out. I'm gonna have to cite you for that. And Milner, the front end of this thing you're driving looks a little low.
Oh, no, sir. No. It's 12 and a half inches, regulation size. Now, it's been checked several times. You can check it if you like, sir.
Look, Milner,
Yes, sir.
you can't fool with the law.
Yes, sir.
We know that was you tonight. We have an excellent description of this car. I could run you in right now, and I could make it stick. But I'm not going to do that, Milner. You know why? I want to catch you in the act. And when I do, I'm going to nail you but good. Happy birthday, Milner.
There are some similarities I want to point out when you just heard this clip from American Graffiti. Did you see how the driver knew who the officer was? The officer knew who the driver was before any information was exchanged. You can best believe that's a similar scenario because there have been way too many pullovers. They're familiar with the subject and the subject is familiar with them. That's why he continues to be pulled over and over again. They have his number. They're waiting at all corners. Boom! He's pulled over on the spot. So now you saw in American Graffiti that the officer gave the driver citations. No criminal charges. He wasn't drunk. He didn't run over anybody. He got citations. He got traffic tickets. He's going to have to go to court and straighten those out. He didn't engage in criminal behavior. The officer suspected he did and said what to him? I want to catch you in the act. I would love to be able to catch you in the act. That's why I'm going to let you go. Who knows what conversations were held when the subject was pulled over? Making it very clear. You just saw traffic citations, and we're dealing here with misdemeanor criminal offenses. But I want to go a little bit further. I want to talk about the concept of getting caught in the act. Check this out.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second.
Okay. So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. He didn't have a license.
That is what the charge is, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his
Yes.
record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Harris, I'll be giving you a call.
Okay.
I'm sure most of you have seen or heard of this scenario that took place. It was worldwide news. Taking full and total advantage for granted that he wouldn't get caught in the act. He kept repeating the behavior over and over and over and over again until he was caught in the act. Then when they caught in the act, what do? run around and complain about being victims, which is exactly what this dude did in this video, which is exactly what the other subject is doing, making it seem as though other people talking about it are causing the problems. The problem already occurred when the criminal violations were perpetrated. This dude here continued to whine and moan publicly to everybody. And of course, the court got wind of it because he was blaming the court. He's blaming the police department. The judge didn't take kindly to that. You're the one running around here driving on a suspended or revoked license, and somehow it's the fault of who? Well, listen, one thing you don't want to do when you go to court is lie. I have to follow up with this very important aspect of the hearing of this dude, Corey Harris. Interesting. Is it a coincidence they have the same last name? Well, you'll have to decide that for yourself. But he lied, straight up lied, and got busted.
Here's the part that was disturbing for me, so that you know.
Okay.
Mr. Harris indicated that at some point he had been involved in some accident. And being involved into the accident, that he was basically bedridden or at least housebound, he could not get to the Secretary of State. That's not true.
Okay.
He purposely stated that he could not get to the Secretary of State. And the reason I know that is because Mr. Harris, on December 28th of 2023, do you know where you were?
I know I was laid up from our accident.
You were at the Secretary of State's office. And you were at the Secretary of State's office because you redid and got your new Michigan ID.
Listen, this is in the state of Michigan, so we're clear. Listen, people, can you imagine what the court would say if they got all these clips of this idiot making all these statements? It's very insulting. It's an indignation when you encounter those who have no respect for the law and think they can do whatever they want to do. They have no one to answer to. Well, obviously we know they're well aware that they have to answer to someone. They're just trying to find a way to avoid it because this is their habit in life. So I got some other surprises for you. Just hang on. Okay, so let's get some things clear. When you see fines attached to a criminal case, there are automatic fines that are set by laws that are passed. Obviously, if you're acquitted, you're not going to pay those fines. Take a plea deal, you have a jury trial or a bench trial, and you are determined to be guilty, you will have to pay not only these fines, but other fines that the court will impose. You have to pay fines to be supervised by probation if you have a probation term. Other fees kick in. So it's not having to pay, like you see the $50 per criminal charge. Paying that is not resolving the issue. You have to go to an arraignment. The formal process for a criminal trial has to take place like any other case. It doesn't matter if it's a murder case or 3 misdemeanor charges. Driving on a revoked/suspended license, driving on a registered vehicle, and driving without insurance. Those are criminal cases in the state of Michigan. They are not traffic tickets. But like traffic tickets, if you don't show, they issue a warrant because you failed to appear. The same thing here. The warrant has already been entered into the system. So there's no special setup for someone because they're on YouTube and they don't want to follow the law. The law is the law. They don't give a damn who you are. There's a procedure that everybody has to undergo. And if you abscond from that process, they're going to issue a warrant for your arrest. It's as simple as that. Nobody can determine what any law enforcement agency, whether it's TSA or local law enforcement when you land in another city, or the airport police or the city police. Any law enforcement agency that has powers of arrest can arrest you. You don't know what's going to happen. You can be having fun time and then somebody decides, you know what, I'm mad at this fool. I'm going to go in my room and call and let them know that somebody here with a warrant. You don't know how people are going to react. You don't know how agencies are going to react. You don't know. They could come to a hotel and do a warrant check on abatement, and then your name comes up. You never know when you're going to get caught up. It feels so good, I bet, to rock around acting like you don't have a care in the world until they roll up on you. Whose responsibility is that? It's not our responsibility, but I want to make sure it's out there, because this misinformation, I think it's just an insult to our system to sit here and think you can decide what's going to happen with your destiny with respect to criminal charges. You have to submit to the system like everybody else. Doesn't matter what kind of trial it is or charges. Certain procedures need to be followed. Unless you have an attorney who goes into the court and tries to get everything heard together, it is unlikely you're going to be able to show up at court and have an arraignment and address the warrants, because the prosecutor has to also be there. You need time to research your history. If you set a future date, they have the opportunity to do all the research, and then the prosecutor will have their view about what should happen to the case. And the defense attorney, or if you're representing yourself, you'll weigh in, and then the judge decides what are the next steps. Will the person be held in jail until the trial? But let me tell you this, I went back and I looked, there's no bond on this warrant. So he can't just go in jail and come right out. He has to come before a judge. So if they arrest him, he's going to be in jail. This is what it says, no bond. You can't tell any officer in the United States whether or not they should arrest someone. It's completely up to them and up to the supervisors to decide what will happen. They do have to notify the agency that has the warrant. So if for whatever reason this subject gets stopped and they said, let me see your ID. If the subject has an ID and produces the ID and it's the legal name, we're assuming that this liar will tell the truth, they'll call the jurisdiction that has the warrant and they'll say, what do you want us to do with this situation? That's how it works. But here's the thing. None of us know under what name the subject is traveling under. So if the subject is traveling, how do we know it's the legal name? We don't know. He could be using someone else's name. This isn't someone who's honest. So we do not know what name the subject is traveling under. So if they're traveling and there's not a hitch comes off, then it's possible it could be another name they're traveling under. You just don't know. We can't ever assume that this subject will tell the truth. Now, there's something else I want to make sure is clear that I know several people had difficulty with. When you say driving on a suspended or a revoked license, you have to be careful with that, because in this case, with this Corey Harris dude, when he was running his mouth off about the court became indignant and decided to go deep diving. See, that's what you don't want to do. Piss the court off so they start really looking into your background. Because we could tell the court didn't really look into what this subject was doing before, because he has these outstanding tickets, actual tickets, not criminal charges and fines, actual tickets that weren't paid. If they did a deep dive, they would have required that he clear all outstanding court fines and fees. They also would not have let him off probation because he was non-compliant except the last month or so. See, that's Michigan's issue. So if anything were to happen, God forbid, something tragic, there would be a serious lawsuit on their hands because he's not adequately supervised. He got off probation in November 2023 and got arrested again in January 2024. God forbid a tragedy occurs, like a wreck or something. Just imagine the fallout from that. But let me go back to suspended/revoked license. That applies not to just those who actually have a valid license and then it gets suspended or revoked. it applies to your right to apply and obtain a license. Let me make sure I got that clear. If you don't have one and you get caught driving without a license, the process would be suspending your right to apply and obtain the privilege. What it does is suspend your right to even obtain the privilege, even if you never had it. This dude here, this Corey Harris, never had a driver's license in any of the 49 states. They did a deep dive because he was trashing the court. And the judge was like, oh, hell no. I'm getting you on the JOB, my worker bees, and get me everything you can find out about this dude and the driver license or wherever else you need to find out. He had the privilege to apply suspended, but he has never ever been issued a driver's license in the United States. He had a suspension in Kentucky. Again, that is suspending your privilege to go in and apply and obtain the license. It's not specifically and only applying to someone who has a valid license and it's invalidated or revoked. None of us know whether or not this subject has ever in life had a driver's license. Not at this stage of the game, but I'm quite sure we'll find out in the near future. When this finally goes down, when this case comes before a judge and there is decisions rendered or pleas taken, conviction, or what, maybe it's an acquittal, we never know. We don't know that until the process plays out. This is all public record. See, at least when we're talking about public record, we're accurate about who we're talking about. We're not making up shit on people or getting other people whose names are similar and hodgepodging all this information in and saying, look at this person's horrible history. It is very obvious what's happened here. So flaunting the law and thinking you're going to get away with it is one thing. When the hammer comes down, that's another thing. And they don't get it until it actually happens. Why? What are you arresting me for? Why? Just, I didn't know I had a warrant. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. It is no excuse. I want to make sure it's clear there is a no bond on this warrant, which means they want some serious questions answered. I'm quite sure they're seeing now that he just got off probation and he's right back in the same situation that he's in. And I just think it's disgusting. The first appearance, the arraignment, was virtual by Zoom. The subject spends how much time on the internet? Wouldn't that be interesting for the judge to know about? 21, 22 hours out of the day are spent on the internet, but this subject can't show up for a 15-minute arraignment. The priorities are skewed, and the court needs to be more heavily involved, like they were with this dude. This dude had another warrant out of Kentucky. So the judge wasn't going to let him out. He was going to let him out only on the Michigan case, since the attorney is there. The attorney's addressing the issue. The attorney was a great advocate. But now we have a warrant in Kentucky. So the judge decided he was going to hold him for that warrant. So when you have a warrant out for your arrest, it is entirely up to the judge to determine whether you're going to get your freedom or not. You need to generate revenue for the state. You got all these subjects running around here without driver's licenses, putting other people at risk. There are those who have driver's licenses and they're high risk. So if you don't have a driver's license, you haven't gone through the process to certify that you appear to be at the minimum level safe to be on the road. We don't have that, but he's up here driving around and the nerve to sit here and try to lecture other people about their lives. Speaking of lecture and who had every right to issue one, it's broad sweeping and it's certainly relevant to this subject here on YouTube and others in the same situation. I want to leave you with the indignation of the judge in this subject, irresponsibility. He's trying to pass off on everybody else. Oh, I've got so much more to say. But in the meantime, don't touch that dial after you hear buyer beware.
I would like to move forward too on this case. We handle these cases all the time. But I will tell you, as you know, having appeared before me. The one thing I don't like is when people don't take responsibility for what they've done. When they take responsibility for it, we will use whatever we can to try to get you to another spot because it doesn't behoove any of us for you to be in that spot. One other thing that I will say, when you say it wasn't started by him, oh, it certainly was. It certainly was when he made his first statement to WXYZ about blaming people for this happening. And he shouldn't have done it because when you look at the whole thing, the person that needed to be blamed, and we can go back to a lot of other points, but I'm not here to embarrass it, but the person that needed to be blamed is the person that he was staring at in the mirror. He didn't do what he should have done.